Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reading Behind the Attic Wall by Sylvia Cassidy. And this was a book that I read when I was younger, and now I'm going to be reading it for my daughter and for all of you guys. Here we go. Part 1, Prologue. Today was the anniversary, May 14th. Last year, they had all promised one another that they would meet again on this day and on every anniversary forever. Now look, 1 year later, and she was hundreds of miles away, sitting alone in a small room, leaning her forehead against the window, doing nothing mostly, while they, the others, what were they doing anyway? Celebrating probably. Celebrating without her, sitting at the table just as they had all sat last year, sipping ice cream from the edges of those tiny spoons and eating bits of cake from those little plates, laughing. In a little while, they would go out into the garden and unwrap their presents among the roses, except that without her there couldn't be any presents. No new ones anyway. And last year's had been ruined the day of the party. Come to think of it, without her, there wouldn't be any cake either. Afterward, they would get up from the table and play games. Maybe they would play the same game they had all played a year ago, the one that was the first and last they had ever played together, all of them in that room next to the garden. Blind man's buff. Maybe not. Maybe they would decide against it, remembering she was no longer there to play it with them. She stared out the window. Maybe the others had forgotten the anniversary altogether. Maybe they were spending the day as they always did, walking out among the roses, reading aloud from the newspaper, passing the bread and butter at tea time, saying crazy things. Maybe they had forgotten her. She rubbed her breath from the window with her fist. There were no roses in this new garden. It was hardly a garden at all, just a backyard really, and instead of a set of wicker furniture grouped in front of a wall of flowers, there was a single aluminum lawn chair with nylon webbing that had begun to fray and that left scratches on the back of your knees. The two little girls playing on the prickly grass caught sight of her face now and were smiling those smiles she had learned after almost a year to like, to love really. Funny, crooked, friendly smiles. In a moment, the two little sisters, her sisters now, because she had finally begun to call their parents mother and father, would be up in her room. Tell us about Adelphi Hills, they would say. Tell us about the old house and the scary rooms and the great big garden. Tell us about your first day and about how you went into all those rooms and took all that stuff that didn't belong to you. They always asked that. Tell us about how you got caught in the garden with the necklace and all those other things. And she would tell them about how she arrived at Adelphi Hills with everything she owned stuffed into a duffel bag. She would tell them about the parlor with the little china ballerina locked behind glass doors. And she would tell them about the garden with the broken swing, broken by her. And the birches leaning like ghosts against the sky. She would tell them about taking things that weren't hers. She would even tell them about the empty room and the unused schoolroom with its rows of desks bolted to the floor. She wouldn't tell them everything. She wouldn't tell them about the anniversary, and she wouldn't tell them about the other room and the other garden. She wouldn't tell anyone about that, ever.